Today's market call is presented by FactSet, financial data and analytics powered by Tomorrow, and SoFi. Get your money right, all in one app.
Whew.
We're on TV.
Yeah, we're on the
YouTube.
YouTube. It's very, very different than the TV. It's actually more fun than TV, by the way.
It's different.
All right, what are we doing here? You want to tell the people?
No, but it's different.
Well,
it's the same type of thing.
It's like
it's 11:01 a.m. on the East Coast. Guy Adami, Dan, Nathan, with you for the next half hour, 45 minutes for
45
market
minutes.
call.
We're gonna do a lot of
if you
questions.
Have questions,
today.
Blow up Amanda's inbox. Except that she ain't here.
Jacob, Timmy,
Amanda's
and Bill
on. What do they called it?
It's a baby moon.
A baby moon.
Yeah,
that's the ass of a baby. A baby moon. That's where she goes. Apparently, she went to where? Puerto Rico.
Why are you doxing her?
Why not?
It's none of anyone's business.
Well, apparently it is.
Some of our Puerto Rican, our fans down in Puerto Rico, they might see her.
They
down
may
there.
see her. If you see a pregnant woman with a husband, say we love you on the market call.
Danny Diaz.
There's a lot going on here. I mean, I'm a little tomfoolery, I know, but Dan's going to do some trading.
We're going to do a little trade on the. Oh, you know what?
What?
No. What? We can't do that trade today.
Can't do that trade
we'll
today.
do it another
maybe
day.
We'll do it next week.
Yeah.
See, this is live television or YouTubing, so things happen.
Yeah.
But look, yesterday, obviously, we heard from Jerome Powell.
Yep.
This is my takeaway. I'm curious as to your takeaway. So it almost to the day, 11 months ago, he said in response to a question.
I love it.
You
asked Steve Leisman last night on CNBC's Fast Money, but let's do it right here.
I said to Steve, 11 months ago to the day, in response to a question about stagflation, Jerome Powell said, I see neither the stag nor the inflation, which a lot of people thought was really cute and clever.
A little bit.
Yesterday, the Federal Reserve downgraded their expectations for growth and the employment picture and upgraded their expectations for inflation. So they moved up inflation and they lowered growth. What does that sound like to you?
It sounds like stagflation, Guy Adami.
Yes, it does, Dan. And that's what we've been
can I just say one thing
that's
really interesting? Back in 2017, then President Trump, he nominated Jerome Powell to be the Fed chair. And a lot of folks loved that choice, right? And he has had a very steady hand, in my opinion, over a very difficult time since 2017. Obviously, COVID was a big part of that. But back then, you were applauding his choice to come off of the zero interest rate bound as far as Fed funds. He started doing it. You've used the term. He got browbeat by the administration, 17, 18, that sort of thing. By all accounts, the economy started slowing. We could look at the data back in 2019. But again, it got a lot of help from fiscal and zero interest rates once again. So we'll talk a little bit about where we are now with Fed Chair Powell. But what did you take away, Guy? And we're going to get to Liz's note, by the way. Liz is not here with us this week. She had
a baby boy,
a beautiful baby boy.
The kid is, honest to God,
gorgeous baby.
It's a good looking.
Some babies are not gorgeous when they come out.
Some are. Like Bill Hockman is probably good looking.
He probably had that ginger beard back then, don't you think?
You know what?
Did you have a ginger full head of hair when you?
Redhead. There's nothing wrong with redheads.
But this kid's beautiful. Do we have a name?
Yes, she sent the name. Okay, now see,
she said baby,
hold on,
and mother. Doing great, which is always we love hearing that.
I don't see it.
Oh, it's I'll find it right
Amanda will tell you, but she can't because she's on a baby moon.
Yeah,
we will give you the name of the kid.
Really excited for her. We're so happy for her, and I have the name. You ready for this? It is. I love this name actually. Griffin River Thomas.
GRT.
Yeah.
Great.
Born 3/18/25. That's my anniversary, which is amazing. 8 pounds, 2 ounces, 9.5 inches long.
Big kid.
It's a big kid.
No, more than that. More than 9.5 inches.
19.
Long. Yeah, I mean 9.5 inches.
I was looking at the pounds thing. So that's Liz. That's her baby.
Like
beautiful
banana.
name. All right. So
so
we're gonna get to Liz's note that she wrote
and
on the week of her baby being
Mario.
Mario
is filling in admirably.
Correct.
All right. So we got all that out of the way. The other thing might take. Yes. I think the reason why interest rate, by the way, you had a good call on interest rates. You thought they would continue to go lower, and they are. I think one of the reasons, if I'm trying to sort of read between the lines, they're reducing the balance sheet runoff from $25 billion a month to $5 billion. Maybe as expected, I'm not sure. But I think the market took that as interpretation is, okay, we're one step away from going from QT to QE, which is one of the reasons I think yields are moving. So here we are. I think the market's trying to digest it. You obviously saw a big move higher in the S&P 500. It faded late in the day We opened lower today. We're rallying back. So I think the market's trying to figure out if there's a bright spot at all. Maybe it comes in the form of the VIX below 20 for the first time in a couple of weeks, although I think that will be short-lived. But here you go.
Yeah, and I guess, you and I were sitting there looking at the Fed's announcement. We were looking at some of the price action that we saw. It yields most importantly first, and then the stock market's reaction. It really raged, initially gave a bunch of that back on the close. I think it was like 40 handles from its highs in the S&P 500 down. And I think what you're keying on, I think, is the most important thing. We had Michael Contopoulos on with us last night.
High yield hottie.
The high yield hottie.
That's funny. People are like, what
the research? Well,
so when he first started coming on,
which is like, I want to say 7, 8 years
many
ago.
years. He's an attractive man.
He's a great man.
I'm
great
I can say that, right?
Of course you can.
And I think somebody said, wow, he's a hottie. And he was
we said it behind his back. It was in the green room. It was probably,
and he focused on high yield. Correct. So I think we came up with a high yield hottie.
Yeah.
But in today's world, it's probably extraordinarily acceptable.
Yeah. And so
I apologize.
So running off the QT, which was, tight. Now, that gets looser monetary policy. Still, the plots didn't change anything about 25 basis points cuts this year. The downgrade of the economy, I think, is really interesting because obviously that comes from some fear about a trade war and the kind of headwinds there. So 1.7% pace. Last year, we were, 2.5 or something like that. It accelerated towards the back half of the year. So that's the thing you got to keep your eye on. So you've been saying rates lower for the wrong reasons, not good.
I think so. Look, and now the next thing that's going to have to come into focus, because people are probably sitting watching this saying, wait a second, Guy, you're an asshole. Yes, that's true.
Yep.
People tell me that on Twitter all the time.
I just agreed.
But they say in order for stagflation, you need the job market to deteriorate. So that's the final piece of this puzzle.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to find out a lot more over the next couple of months in terms of whether or not the job market is deteriorating. But it is pretty clear, in my opinion, that inflation continues to be a problem. And there is a slowdown in growth, which the Fed pretty much acknowledged yesterday. And I think that's what the market is struggling with here. Do we want softer economy? Because that'll be more Fed. It theoretically should be supportive of equities. Or do we want things to sort of reaccelerate, which theoretically should be good for earnings? So there you go.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Liz's note. Know where you can find it, the SoFi blog.
And it's a dopey website.
No. But what Liz always says was just go to the SoFi blog. But if you want to be really specific, go to SoFi.com/on-the-money, and you can get her note that she wrote with Mario.
You can tell I'm in a bit of a mood, right?
Yeah. Well,
okay. No, I'm not. I'm
actually. Well, wait. We're going to get to why you're in a mood. But
let's get through
this note.
Look at all the dots and slashes and
I know, but just Google the SoFi blog.
If you're like me and you see that, it's like, I'm not going to try to type that.
No, you're not.
Because if you miss a letter or if you miss a hyphen, you might wind up on one of those sites that you should never be on.
All right. So you
know what I'm talking about.
This is, I think, a great little
way to go, Jacob.
Okay. So let's talk about this. This is in Liz's note this week. The blue is December. The red, or whatever you want to call it, maroon, is March. Okay, so let's look at the change in real GDP from 2.1% in December right now to 1.7%. These are their projections, right? If we look at the unemployment rate, 4.3% up to 4.4%. Now, that was their outlook. Yeah, okay, let's be clear. So right now we're at 4.1%. Core PCE, which is the Fed's what?
I think that's their most favored metric or something.
As it relates to inflation. Yeah, CPI, whatever. PPI, whatever. It's PCE. That's what they favor here, people. 2.5% in December, 2.8%
which, by the way,
now.
That's a significant move.
All right. So we don't have to go too much into this. This is what Liz has also been projecting, that all of these sort of numbers, growth was going to step down. Unemployment, had the percent to step up a little bit, and then obviously inflation, that's been your dog here. So this is the inflation or the stagflation chart in a nutshell.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that it is. And if you see a continuation of this theme, which, by the way, I think almost by definition you will, because again, if you look at some of these core commodity prices, they've been on the rise. We talked about copper yesterday. I mean, there's some embedded things in terms of inflation. They're not getting any better. And by the way, I don't even know if tariffs are necessarily fully priced into this thing. Nobody knows.
Well, that's the thing, is we don't know how many hundreds of billions or even trillions, that are being expected. This next one, I think, is really important that Liz and Mario point out here. Consumer expectations show stagflation risk. Now, let's just kind of break this down for 1 second before we get to what this expectations or this chart is showing us. We've been talking about consumer sentiment now for the last couple couple months. And every really smart guest that we've had said, listen, let's be careful here, because right down the political divide, we're seeing some Democrats are a bit more pessimistic, and then Republicans are a bit more optimistic.
The same thing in the prior administration.
All right, but you and I agree. What also happened in the prior administration, when you actually get the growth slowing and the unemployment going higher, that's when you get these two groups meeting in the middle. Because you've said, what's the thing about when your neighbor loses their job?
That's a recession.
Yeah. When you lose your job,
that's a depression.
Yeah. And again, we don't want.
We don't rehearse this, Bill. By the way,
I know.
You notice
that.
We don't rehearse.
All right. So let's break this one down, Guy.
Bill's
the purple
right
is percent expecting more unemployment. The blue is the 1 year inflation expectation.
Which, look at that. I mean, again, these
They're
are
all going up.
Significant spikes.
And then that maroon thing again is the 5-year inflation expectation. So
which should not move that way. 5-year expect. This is 5 years out. This should be sort of flat line to maybe some little blips along the way.
Yep.
This is moving in it. So you tell me. I mean, if you look at this and just sort of again try to read between the lines, what does that tell you? Now you have to ask yourself: is this a favorable backdrop for equities? Historically, the answer is no. The market has rallied the last day and a half on this news being out there.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're looking at right now, if you want my honest opinion.
Well,
no, of course you do.
Yeah.
Why would I give you other than an honest opinion?
Correct.
You're not.
So all three of those ticking up. All three of those ticking up speaks to stagflation. Again, our economy, our markets haven't really felt stagflation in a very long time, and no one knows how that's going to weigh on risk assets. The last one here, guys. So yesterday we had the Fed announcement at 2:00. We had the presser at 2:30. We often see some kind of knee-jerk sort of moves, and then we see a move into the close. In this instance, we had to come off on the close right now as we are discussing things. The S&P 500's up basically 45 basis points. The NASDAQ's up 58 basis points. The 10-year yield is at 4.21. So this is the thing that moved. We're kind of back at those kind of lows that we've seen of late. So you see her intraday chart here. That was the price action. So, Guy, let's talk about today. Who cares about yesterday?
Yeah.
Let's pull up the S&P chart really quickly here.
Yes, and I'll speak to this. So it's pretty clear right now, in my opinion, in terms of yields, the bond market is more focused on slowing growth than they're concerned about inflation, which is why yields are going lower. So you pick one, they've picked the slower growth they're going to sort of play into. So here's the S&P 500. We've outlined this a number of times. There's your 200-day moving average. We obviously breached it. We sort of breached it in August. We've done it again now. Is there a chance we trade back up to it? On time decay, it gets you back to 58.50, which is about 145 or so handles from here. That's not out of the realm of possibility. And by the way, it would be a 50% retracement of this recent high that we saw and this recent low that we saw. So the math sort of makes sense. It lines up pretty well. And then the question is, do you see then a reacceleration lower or a renewed move lower, depending on how you want to look at it? I think that's a probable outcome. I'll be honest with you. I don't think we're going to get back to the 200-day, but we could. But the question one has to ask themselves, are we in now a sell the rally mode? And now that we're digesting a lot of this news and a lot of these inputs, what is a favorable backdrop for equities?
Yeah. Our main man, Doug Cass over there at Seabreeze, writes for thestreetpro.com. He had a note out early this morning. He thinks that you get to a point of a 3-day sort of bounce like this after such a precipitous drop. He actually made some great, listen, he has a trading diary. He writes down timestamps, everything he's doing. Yeah. He's actually traded this. I don't mean to say actually, he's traded this really well. He had been, kind of short into the kind of, drop that we had into late last week. And he bought some what he calls long rentals here. The thing that I guess I would focus on here, Guy, if we have the live chart here, we're still in this kind of 3-day range. You know what I mean? You see where that 200-day moving average is. So you said yesterday, could we rally up to that 200-day moving average? And we probably fail there. But I think the most important thing is just you look at this sort of range and we're still range bound. What is it going to cause? Is it momentum that breaks it out here? Who knows? That's what we're going to keep checking.
People going to get chopped up. In a high volatility environment, sell-offs are exaggerated to the downside as people are short vol have to sell more as things go lower. And conversely, those same people that are short vol, as things go higher, they have to buy more and more. So you wind up chasing your tail until that gets sorted out. But with the VIX either side of 20, in my opinion, it's not been sorted out yet.
Yeah, and let's look at the NASDAQ here because this is one, the NDX and NASDAQ 100. This looks a little different. We've been highlighting this. Obviously, the Mag 7, Fateful 8, as we like to call them, have been kind of weighing.
You keep saying we. When have you heard? I mean, I think it's great.
You see what I did to Karen last night on Fast Money?
I do.
Yeah, so I said, I know you call it the Fateful 8.
Right,
I'm trying to get everybody involved in this thing.
You do.
Yeah.
By the way, I know we have time.
Yeah.
You were the one that came up with the Mag 7.
Well, I shortened it to. There's
came up with the MAGA trade.
So MAGA was back in 2017, 18. I basically said Microsoft, Apple, Google, and Amazon because the FANG thing was stupid to me, right? Well, so you had Facebook, Apple, Netflix was the problem I had with the FANG. So I called it MAGA, and then
they were all $1 trillion market cap.
I think Kramer that he coined FANG, and then he also coined. A few years ago, the Mag 7. Right. Okay, so I think on our show we shortened it to the Mag 7. He did the Magnificent 7, so we shortened it. Then in December, when Broadcom joined the $1 trillion club, we said forget Magnificent 7. It's the Fateful 8 now.
You said.
And then Mel, by the way, and this is a little inside baseball, she does not like acronyms for these sorts of things. When you put magnificent, that's making an assumption that these stocks are magnificent and they will continue to be magnificent.
I agree with her.
So then what we did on December 16th, after the Broadcom move, it rallied 40% in 2 days after the earnings and guidance. We said the fate of the market rests in these 8 stocks. Fateful 8, a play on Hateful Eight, the movie with
Leonardo DiCaprio
and Quentin Tarantino.
Was it Leo?
No, it wasn't Leo. But
I love Leonardo.
Kurt Russell, which I tried to do a name association with you last night, and you didn't get it.
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
I also want to say this, and it's not coincidence. You came up with the MAGA trade. Yes or no?
Yeah.
I would say 3 months later.
Yep.
Then President Trump, first administration, was sitting with a notepad.
He had a little cue card.
And he wrote down, look at this.
Yeah.
MAGA, Microsoft, Apple, Google, Amazon.
Which I actually think.
He got, no, I don't think.
He definitely got it because we did a whole segment. If you Google this, maybe Jacob can find this. I actually had MAGA hats made.
My hair looks
Do you remember this?
I do.
We had MAGA hats made. I did it on the air. This thing, it was all over it didn't break the internet, but it was pretty good on FinTwit. And so Trump definitely got it from
Has anything ever broken the internet? No,
there's some stuff. I think I think there was like the Kim Kardashian sex tape kind of broke the right, Bill? Am I right? There was a couple things. It's always like kind of like
let me ask you a question.
Sort of stuff.
I apologize. Well, Amanda's not here, so she can't yell.
We can do whatever we want.
Well,
we can. Bill's giving us double thumbs up over there.
Kim Kardashian was a nobody prior to.
She played second fiddle to the other one who was made famous by a sex tape, Paris Hilton.
Paris Hilton, who I love, by the way. Big fan of the show. But do you think
you're a big fan of her show, or she's a big fan of our show?
Okay. Do you think it's possible that Kim Kardashian leaked that tape?
100%.
100%.
Supposedly her mom leaked it.
Her mom leaked it.
Yeah. And they're laughing all the way to the bank.
Well, no. Yeah, if that's how you got to get there.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, how does these things even come up?
Jacob, look how fat I was too.
Is that you? Looks like Steve Leisman.
Dude. So on Fast Money.
Wait a second.
On Fast Money.
No, that's not. Come on.
They say the camera adds 1,000 pounds.
Apparently.
100 pounds. So by the way.
That's not Steve Leisman.
Listen, I've been very clear about this. I have been on the GLP-1 on the Wegovy for 2 years. I lost 35 pounds, 15% of my body weight. Can't you do like
side by side?
No. Can't you do what they call a Photoshop?
I have no idea.
Okay. That was me. That was, years ago.
I'm the same part. Like I'm always the same.
Yeah, you're dancing with a girl. You're dancing with a girl.
I wear shit from high school.
You know what's really interesting about that?
Bill's like, no, you don't. Yeah, I do.
So a lot of these actors have had a lot of work done, right? A lot of these, like face or whatever, right? I don't claim what I'm doing, work done. Okay.
No,
like
you're doing for health reasons.
I was
feeling better.
I was pre-diabetic. I feel so much better. I sleep better. I don't snore anymore. So they're going to prescribe this for sleep apnea. They're going to prescribe it for everything. This thing's going to be like fluoride. It's going to be in the water soon.
Fluoride.
Unless RFK Jr. has his way. Like literally.
So in other words, you don't have to wear those masks that people look like the Elephant Man when they go to bed.
I work out more. I eat better.
I hate this. I'm not looking to make fun of people's afflictions.
Yeah.
I'm really not.
Of course.
And listen, I might drop dead of this in a week.
Should we be careful
about what?
I don't know. Wherever you're going with this.
No, but if you're going to bed with Tom Cruise's mask from Maverick on, in order to sleep.
Well,
That's
it's a serious thing. Sleep apnea.
No, I
People die in their
understand
sleep. Yeah, and it could
So
cause lots of whole.
So you wear like the
aortic
whole thing.
aneurysm. Yeah,
And what if you toss and turn in your sleep?
you basically can't. It's really hard.
What, they have to like tie you down?
No, I mean it's hard.
Okay,
all
I'm
right.
not looking. I'm sorry.
All right, so we got off
I'm
track.
not.
So the MAGA
I
thing.
apologize.
The MAGA thing.
You,
All right, so,
you
so
coined.
we said basically
I'm sure there are people
the
watching that wear
NASDAQ.
that
The
thing.
NASDAQ feels a lot heavier
Yeah, it
than the
does.
S&P 500.
We'll
Let's
get back to the
let's go
market.
to the call of the day, and after we do the call of the day, and we're not going to spend too much
We
time
have
on this.
questions. Oh, we do
I
have
know,
questions.
but let's do the call of the day here because it kind of speaks a little bit to the NASDAQ, and then let's do a couple other things here, and then we actually have some inside baseball stuff. I just said before we got on, I just got to get through Thursday, and I'm going to tell you a little bit why he needs to get through Thursday. That's going to be a lot of fun.
D.A. Davidson.
So D.A. Davidson, and we talked about this yesterday. There's no shortage of analysts. There's 76. This is per FactSet that cover the stock. Well, that's 62. So this is a FactSet. 62 have buys. 5 have holds. There's no sells. D.A. Davidson, they cut their price target. I think they're saying a lot of stuff that you and I have been saying about this. We don't have to go into it. I just think that this would be, and why do we talk about analyst ratings? But from a sentiment shift every once in a while is important. If we start to see a whole host of analysts sort of downgrading the stock, investors are already bearish or more bearish than they've ever been on the stock. That's why the stock's down 25%. We think the fever has broken here.
Yeah.
Analysts are probably going to catch up to it soon.
So it's interesting. We had Stacey Raskin
Raskin from Bernstein
on the
2 nights ago,
Fast
Tuesday
Money.
night.
And he does a great job. I mean, I have no issue with this whatsoever. But we brought up the fact that competition was coming. He was very dismissive of that. Then people on Twitter, "Oh, Stacey owned you guys." Okay,
is that what they said?
Yeah.
So you still look at the Twitter?
Oh yeah, I do. But my point is, like, you have to be careful not to fall into the whole dogma thing and not to sort of get attached to things. And I think there's a trap that I think people are falling into with NVIDIA, that somehow this is going to be new. It's a new paradigm. Like, it's going to be different this time. The reality is we have seen stories like, not to the magnitude, not to the same dollar numbers, but the stories have been very similar, and they all sort of end the same way. Cisco, for example, is still a publicly traded company. It's a very important company, but it trades nowhere near the valuation that it did at its peak. So, and that's really the only point in NVIDIA. Competition, especially in today's world, comes a lot faster and seemingly out of places that nobody saw coming.
Yeah, that was the
my
thing
concern
that triggered me when you were talking about competition. You were talking about, diversification, second sources. We're talking about maybe AMD will have a chip, maybe, Broadcom and Marvel, who's working with some of their big competitors. We highlighted that Amazon has developed their own chip and they're trying to undercut NVIDIA sales. And so we talked all about that. He was listening. Then you ask him about competition and he goes, "What competition?" Like that. So that was the sort of thing.
That is, again, that's fine. I mean, maybe he was trying to, pose for TV and stuff. It's all
okay.
Good,
so let's go to the chart of the day.
I know.
I
don't get in people's
easy
kitchen.
peasy. You are easy peasy. I'm a little more excitable. I'm a big fan of this.
Warren Zevon.
Right.
Werewolves of London. No. Yeah. Excitable Boys of Warren Zevon. Bill, did you know that?
By the way,
Bill, you can talk, Bill. Do you know that Warren's Excitable Boy?
By the way, isn't that the name of the album? Excitable Boy?
Be.
Yeah. He had
Warren Zevon died of brain cancer.
I know. He had a moment. I don't think he had much more than a moment.
Yeah.
Like he had a couple of songs, Excitable Boy, Werewolves of London. The Dead used to cover that, by the way. When they used to play in London, they used to
Lawyers, Guns, and Money.
So my sister Stacy was over there.
The fact that I was able to pull that out.
Lawyers, Guns, and Money. That's another one. So she saw the Grateful Dead on Halloween in London, I think at Wembley. And they played Werewolves of London. That's great. All right, let's go to this chart of the day, Guy. So this one is pretty
stories out of nowhere for 500, please.
Double bottom. Look at the last time it had a double bottom, August, September. Look at that big move it had. This is a much bigger double bottom here. I think this stock gets back to that 200-day. I think it probably fills in the gap. Next week, we're going to trade it with the options. You know why? I don't like putting a bullish trade on when a stock is up 5%. So we're going to look at that early next week. Let's see how it settles out. But here's the big one. Let's go to the 5-year.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the potential for a bearish to bullish reversal. Now,
you said
this is one of these things where and this is not how a lot of people trade, but if this thing starts to get on its horse, in other words, from 9.5 to 10, break through 11, you're buying strength here because the turn could surprise people in terms of just where we are now and where we potentially go. and nothing has changed. By the way, we've seen moves like that before in a number of different stocks. So your point is well taken. We've been dragging along the bottom here for quite some time. You get an inkling of good news on the margins, and this stock could easily go up 35, 40%.
Right. And one of the main reasons for that is that revenue growth, while it's not crazy, it's about 14% expected for the next 2 years. Earnings growth on a GAAP basis is starting to inflect a little bit, Guy. I mean, it's going from, next year or this current year, it's on a GAAP basis, a loss of 33 cents. Next year is supposed to be a smaller loss. But if you start to see this thing on an adjusted basis, they have 36 cents this year, 50 cents next year. If they go on a GAAP basis to profitable, I think that you're going to have a lot of folks say this is probably a mid-teen stock, $17 billion enterprise value. And when I think about it on a revenue basis, that is growing 14%. Expected $6.1 billion this year, nearly $7 billion. Right now, Twitter is expected to have, I don't know, like $2 billion in sales. That's down from $5 billion, Guy, when Elon bought this thing. So I think in this regulatory environment, I think, well, Mark Spiegel, Mark Spiegel's this guy on Twitter who is a bigger Twitter Tesla bear than anyone else.
Mark Spiegel.
Yeah. And he's one of these guys where I actually, believe it or not, used to be bullish. This is years ago, pre-pandemic, on Tesla. And he used to come at my ass all the time on Twitter, like hard. He used to come on any Twitter bull. He probably hates me still, but that's fine. So here's a company that is expected to have, 3x the sales of Twitter. And he just raised Elon at basically $32 billion in equity, $1 billion, and plus the debt. That's where he bought the stock. So I think Snap is way undervalued on a relative basis. I think it could be a takeout candidate. Evan has super voting rights.
Should be.
So he only sells if he wants to sell. He might want to sell.
There's a price that he would sell.
So we're going to trade that next week. We're not going to do it up 5.5%. Now, really quickly, Guy Adami, and if you watch the Squawk and Friends, that would be the Squawk Box on
6 to 9.
6 to 9. On the 8 o'clock hour, he was a guest host. Melissa was also guest host. Joe Kernan was also the host. You were promoting Fast Money Live June 5th. I think there's still some tickets, Guy. We did it back in February. It was an amazing event. Go check it out. If you want to do it, register. You have to buy the tickets. But it was a great thing. You were promoting that this morning.
We had a lot of fun at the last event. People get there at 4 o'clock. They meet Sandy, who's our senior executive producer, and Melissa. Then the 4 of us, or the 5 of us, went into the studio. We talked to people. We did our show. Throughout the show, we had people going in and out of the audience for Q&A.
Awesome. That was you.
At 6 o'clock, we did a Q&A for half an hour. Then we had about an hour and 15, hour and a half long cocktail hour. We got to meet everybody. People came from 30 states, including Alaska and Hawaii. People came from Canada and Ireland. It was amazing. And unless I missed something, everybody had a wonderful time.
Yeah, it's gonna be a great time. We're really excited about it. It was really fun. Anytime we get to meet folks, and again, we meet our listeners all the time, which I assume a lot of them know us from Fast Money. We love engaging with you. You guys send us emails. You send us these questions. We're gonna answer some of the questions. We also try to answer most of the emails. contact@riskversal.com. So put those in there. We love
blow
feedback.
Up Amanda's
good or bad. We like the feedback. So give it to us.
By the way, Amanda's on a baby moon.
You already said that.
Yes, I do. Okay, so we have a question from Adam B.
Let's do it.
What are your thoughts about Costco? Well, I'm surprised it's down. It traded below $900, I think, the other day. And these are last time we saw these levels, Dan, I think, was November. So this is more of a drop than we typically see. We have seen sell-offs in this name, Jacob, if you want to put a chart up, but we haven't seen it to this magnitude. We are now through the 200-day moving average. Question is, how do you trade it? This is how I would trade it if I'm answering the question. Close above 910, you buy it, and you're going to get a gap fill back to the level that we broke down from. So I'd rather buy strength here than try to buy it here on potential strength, Dan.
Okay, I have a question. This is from Dan N. Would you rather?
Where is that?
No, it's me.
Dan N.
Yeah.
Bill, you hear that? Bill's trying to be quiet. Would you rather?
Costco,
COST, or Walmart, Jinx.
Yeah. So Walmart right now has not had a bounce either. It's down about 7.5 or 17.5%.
I'll play your reindeer game.
But let's talk before we look at anything technically. Let's talk about, okay, so Costco, they have this recurring revenue stream. People like that. It's very high margin.
Yes.
Once you're
small,
on there,
small, but yes, people
you don't
they
get,
the
wow, look at
pre-
him. You
Who's
don't get
that?
you don't get off
Is
of
that
it.
Jacob?
And
Holy shit.
like you can buy both in bulk, at both
same
places.
chart.
It's So, but here's the thing. I'm just curious what you think. Is there one as far as I guess growth?
I think
you know what I mean. That sort of thing
I
that you
can
like
make
better.
a better case for Walmart.
They're
on
both
value.
down 17%.
I can make
by
a
the way.
better case for Walmart on valuation, despite the fact that both are expensive.
Right.
So the answer to your question is, I would right here 86.5, 903. I would rather Walmart at 86.5.
10% expected earnings growth from Costco this year and next. And we're basically this is the fiscal year, 50 times this year, 45 times next. Revenues are growing and, like this, 7%. And let's go to Walmart for a second here. Walmart's revenues are growing much slower, about 5% or something, but it trades 32.5 this year, 29 times next. So again, I feel like at some point they're both going to be buys because, no matter what goes on with the economy, in a good economy, people come back to this. We've seen the trade down or whatever. In a bad economy, you're also going to be looking, for these sorts of bulk buying deals and all the like.
I gave Joe Kernan a Dan Nathan playing card.
Oh yeah. Well, really quickly, so back to Fast Money Live, you got all these really cool gifts. You got these, and I think stuff. And they had playing cards by all of us. Yeah. And I had my face on it. I had a money mantra, and they had a few different things, little fun facts about us. No, so this morning,
so it's funny.
Yeah.
In the commercial break, this is really inside baseball.
Yeah, people love this thing.
So during the commercial break, I walked up behind Joe, put my hands on his shoulders, and said, "What can I get you from Starbucks?" Because that's what I do. I ask the crew. I ask everybody. Ask Bill Hockman. He'll tell you. I mean, I'm a nice person. And the crew around that show, they walk around like on eggshells. They're effing terrified of everything.
Really?
Yeah.
Why is that?
So Joe said, "I want dots." I said, "I don't know if they sell those at Starbucks." I didn't know what he was talking about.
Dots, candy dots.
But then
not
I realized,
not the dots.
No, he wanted the
dots,
the candy.
Yeah. Look at that. Look at Jacob.
And then he says to me, "But I just want red dots. I don't like the other flavors." I said, "Okay, fine." Yeah. This is at 10 of 8 this morning, and I was scheduled to be on at 8:20. So I said, "Fine, I'll do that for you." So I went 2 blocks. I went to 45th Street. There's a Walgreens. Am I doxing myself?
No, because they know where we are. Remember, Mel starts the show out. NASDAQ. She's like live from the NASDAQ market site in New York City's Times Square. I'm Melissa Lee. Your guests or your hosts tonight are Guy Adami, Dan Nathan, Tim Seymour, and Karen Finerman. Right.
So I walked to the Walgreens.
That's exactly what she says, by the way, every night.
And I came back with a box of dots for Joe.
Yeah.
And I said, "I want you to open," because he wanted only red.
Only red. So red dye, by the way, not good for you.
They apparently they're phasing that out.
Okay, good.
I don't know if but I didn't get them dots. They didn't have them. I got them juju bees,
right.
which are the same effing thing.
Right.
I said, "I want you to open this." He opened them, and sure enough, all red. He's like, "How the blank did you do that?" And Mel was like, "How did you do that?"
Amazing.
I said, "You have that O's character on. You don't ask him."
O's Proman.
I said, "Why are you asking me?" I said,
"Did you tell him your trick?"
No, of course not.
That's amazing. So he walked away
thinking that I'm like,
you're a magician.
Yeah.
You're a mentalist.
You
are mental, but sometimes you're a mentalist.
It really freaked him out.
All right. So
I know nobody cares, but it's a good story.
Yeah.
And I also gave him a Dan Nathan playing card.
Yeah,
which he took.
And he and I are emailing back and forth.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, it is nice.
And I said to him in the commercial, I said, "Joe, we can all get along here. Everything's beautiful. Like, why? There's no belligerence."
No.
Anything else you want to talk about? Anything good?
Do we have any more questions? All right.
We had a conversation yesterday with Jeff Richards.
Yeah. Oh, he's
JR.
Yeah, from Notable Capital.
He's fantastic.
He's a great guest, isn't he?
I like JR.
So, by the way, Guy, we go back and forth. We divide and conquer with a lot of our guests. So the Risk Reversal podcast, we do it 5 days a week. Market Call, we do 4 days a week. You and I are usually always on Today Market, but sometimes we go back and forth with different guests.
Like ping pong.
Okay. So Guy loves the Jeff, Richards conversations. It wasn't even your day to come on, and you came on. You love him.
I love him because, first of all, he's a badass.
Yeah.
Played college basketball at Dartmouth. He gets it.
He does get it.
He's like Bill Hockman. He probably had mad hops in the day like Bill did. Now he's older. but he still has an edge to him. And
Jacob,
he's smart.
He's the man.
And he can speak the language. Like he synthesizes things.
He does. It was great.
So that dropped today.
Yep. And we have David Rosenberg of Rosenberg Research later today. Will you guys just pull, and I guess I'm a little obsessed. Pull up the Tesla.
Oh, no, I can't. I thought I was about to say we got through an entire show.
Pull up the Tesla for a second. And I want to do a 1 year, and then I want to do a 6 month. Jacob, if you could just do this really quickly.
It's trading like ass today.
Well,
what?
I used to work for a guy, and
I hope
I don't offend you. I used to work for a guy. No.
Oh.
He's one of my people. He used to say every once in a while when a stock was trading poorly, and it was a stock that he hated, and then this would kind of fit that category for me. He would say it trades like dirty, rotten ass.
That's what I just said.
I know you said
I didn't say dirty, rotten.
And then you know what he would also say? So if you were trying to pick a bottom here. Okay, so like because the stock sold up, he goes, you know what you get when you try to pick bottoms, smelly fingers.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, so
you think that's? So that's somehow. I mean, even effing Bill knew what you were about to say.
Look at this chart right here. So yesterday,
he who goes to bed with itchy ass wakes up with smelly finger. It's a proverb.
Okay, I'm not frozen, but my body's frozen. Let's go to a 3-day chart for a second here, or like a 1 week.
Legit, you brought it up.
Let's go to a 1 week. I just think this is really important here, guy. So this is what it looks like when you have such a precipitous move. So you had that gap, okay, like 2 days ago, it had that big move higher, and look at it today, right?
Yeah.
And so let's go back to that other chart for a second. I mean, a 4.5% move yesterday, guy, looks like a blip on this chart. Look at the downtrend that it's still in over the last week or so. So this thing trades like, today, you know what?
Yeah, it surprises me because I said it 2 days ago. I think I said it yesterday. I thought given where we just traded down to this, and I'll still look, I don't know what happened over the last 20 minutes, but this is still a stock that you're pushing against something that might not be there on the downside. With that said, there's no denying that it does not trade.
What he means there, it's not a great press on the short side, pushing against something, because again, when you have so much downward pressure, at some point, there's no one left to sell, and then you get like a proper bounce. You were saying yesterday, maybe you see that 200-day moving average. Do we have any other questions here?
Because Jacob, oh, by the way.
Oh, no, here's one.
Can we say it or no?
Which one?
Jacob.
Oh, yeah, it's his birthday today.
Jacob's birthday today, so blow his ass up. I think he's like 19 or something.
No, he's 31.
31.
Yeah.
Is he really 31?
So he's adorable,
Jacob, isn't he?
Yeah, he's
he really is.
This is from Mike.
He's like a little fella, but I love him.
Jeez.
What?
He's a mighty man.
Is he a big fella? No.
He's
a little fella.
Yeah.
And I love him.
There's a lot of.
I don't understand why there's something wrong.
There's a lot of might in that man. Let's talk about Mike B. Jacob's not going to pull it up now if he didn't like that comment.
Can you cover Meta?
Yeah, that would be the Facebook.
Do you notice, by the way?
You only call it the Facebook.
It's like the movie Coming to America.
So this is one of the worst.
Mama name him Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay. And that, by the way, one of the great scenes in cinema history was that barbershop scene in Coming to America. Okay, how do you trade?
If you ever wanted to buy this stock,
this is it. I said it yesterday. What did I say?
You said if you ever want to buy this stock because it held the 200-day. Am I stealing your thunder a little bit?
Look draw a horizontal line across those bottoms. Look at the 200-day moving average. Yeah. If you ever wanted to buy the stock.
Did you say it just like that?
Yeah, pretty much.
So where would you stop?
Last night you did the same thing. I mean, legit, I said something.
What?
And then 30 seconds later, I said, we just said that.
I wasn't listening.
And Dan said I wasn't listening.
But you don't listen to me sometimes on the show. So I've done that a couple times.
I listen to everything.
And you literally call
me. So Mike
out
B, this is how you trade Facebook here. You buy the stock, you pull the ripcord if you're wrong. Below, I guess, I don't know, what's the moving average? Like 580 or something?
No, I'll tell you it's 572.
Okay, so it's gotten away a little bit, but that's your right level. And on the upside, you keep raising the stop, and you look for basically a 50% retracement of this move.
Yeah, the problem, I guess, with 572, you're looking at 4.5%.
I get it.
But it's up 4% today. I mean, this is one where, I probably wait. I see how it trades. Let's see if it kind of closes this strong. Let's see how the market closes. That you want like a relative strength, to the fateful 8, and you want it to see, that's the sort of thing that you might get a follow through.
When I worked with a guy named Dan Gershell at CIBC World Markets.
Correct.
He's about 5'6", 5'7".
Mighty guy though.
Little guy.
Yeah.
he called me an ogre. Nobody had problems with that. Like when you call me an ogre, that's okay. But I say little fella,
guys,
and all of a sudden I'm just saying,
trying
like,
to dig himself out
no,
of a hole.
I am not digging anything.
Yeah.
People have met Jacob on the road.
Yeah.
His stature has nothing to do with how I feel about him.
He's one of the
By the way, who found Jacob?
You did.
Who found Jacob?
You did.
Yes, I did.
And you know what you said to me? Because you guys were doing this sports podcast.
I said, this guy's effing brilliant.
Yeah. You said like, we're going to do something with this guy someday.
I said he's smart as shit.
I know you did.
I said, despite the fact that he's 5'2", he's
not 5'2". Jeez, we're gonna have some issues.
I'm kidding around. There's no HR here at Risk Reversal Media.
Well, it's Amanda.
Huh?
It's Amanda.
Yeah, but she's on a baby move.
So I always say to her when I say something off color, I say, don't tell HR. She's like, noted.
I am
and then
HR.
she goes, yeah, I am.
All right, I got to take a leak. It's been a long morning.
All right, well, let's just kind of finish things up here a little bit, guys. So you have an S&P that's come in just a little bit. We had
0.3% as we're sitting here.
So when I say 30 basis points and you say 0.3%,
same thing.
Well, go in the chat. Tell us what you guys prefer here, people. It is the same thing. You have a VIX guy that has not gotten squished, even with a market that's rounding a little bit, 19-ish, 19.5. You have the 10-year yield at 4.23. What's a level in the 10-year? Let's pull that up for a second.
411 levels where you traded down to. No, look, I mean, you've been spot on with this thing.
Yeah,
I continue when I sort of read between the lines. Like, I think the market got encouraged. The bond market got encouraged by the tapering, basically from 25 billion to 5 billion in terms of QT. I think the market sort of took its cues from that.
Yeah.
I think the bigger picture. You're basically saying what is more important? Slowing growth yields lower, or inflation and debt issues yields higher? And that's what I think the market right now. By the way, they're in your camp that slowing growth means yields go down.
Right. All right. So before we leave, this is really important. If you could just hold your bladder for 2 more minutes.
I can do that. I'm not. I mean, I'm.
So in the transition, okay. This is November, December into January 20th. There was a lot of talk about what the Trump administration was going to do. They own the House, they own the Senate. They're putting in loyalists at all these different sort of departments, cabinet, that sort of thing, and they're going to clear house. Well, they've done all that. So this kind of fourth rail, is that what they say? Was the independence of the Federal Reserve, right? So the head of the Treasury is obviously an appointment. He gets confirmed. The Fed Chair Powell needed to be confirmed, also an appointment, but it's not part of the 3 branches of government.
So Jacob can
the
go
executive, the legislative, and the judicial.
I'm not on Truth Social.
And by the way, he also owns the judiciary.
Look what Trump tweeted today about interest rates. So I don't know if we can get that up or not.
So this is the point that I was making during the transition.
Yeah, you were.
And you guys all looked at me like I had
no.
Heads.
I did not look at you
Melissa
like
looked at me and said,
what I said was,
do it. It's
in. It is, I don't know if it's Constitution or not. I'm not pretending to be a scholar, but the way it's written,
correct.
A Fed official that includes the Fed chair can only be fired for cause. Cause is not, I disagree with your view on interest rates. Now, he just did this with 2 FTC officials, which the language is the same thing. They are saying it's illegal. But as I said 2 nights ago, he might have just set the precedent for what he's looking to do with Jerome Powell, although I don't see it happening.
Well, why wouldn't you see it happening?
I just don't. I think that is. I think that's a bridge too far.
Can I tell you something? When we get to the May 7th meeting and they don't do anything on rates and they keep their commentary the same, I think he is going to get very aggressive. And I'll tell you why. He's been absolutely emboldened by anything that he has been able to do from an executive standpoint, the executive orders. He does not care about the norms. And then it's going to come up to the laws. It's going to come up to the Constitution and what the Supreme Court is willing to do. And you might say that I'm being hyperbolic. You might say I'm being partisan. That's what's going on here, people. So I have been of the belief, this goes back to before the administration even started, that he will try to do this because he's doing it everywhere else and he's steamrolling. And at some point, the Supreme Court is going to have to stand up against some of this stuff. Chair Roberts, what do you call him?
Or the Supreme Court
Chief Justice had come out with an aggressive statement about, because they're trying to fire or impeach, some federal judges that have their term for life. And the way that you can impeach him is for treason and this and that, whatever. And he's putting pressure on to do that. So if no one comes up and basically, kind of thwarts that sort of way of thinking, he's going to come for Fed Chair Powell. I'm just telling you guys. And then the last thing, this is where my question.
You know how many times you say this is the last thing?
I know.
This is at least the third last
I
thing.
swear this is the last thing.
By the way, you said you might say.
One might say.
You said one might. That's a Cars lyric. You might think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Yeah. You might think I am not a Cars fan.
Cars out of Boston, Massachusetts.
Yeah, not a fan. Rick Ocasek.
What was it? What was the only #1 song by the Cars? Anybody know? Bill Hockman. Do you know?
It's actually that really depressing song.
Yes, it's a great song.
I don't like it.
Drive.
Yeah.
Who's going to drive you home tonight?
Yeah, who's gonna,
Benjamin, the late Benjamin Orr,
and his girlfriend, wife, who was a supermodel,
was in that. Paulina Petrakova.
Yeah, she that was a money grab.
Who?
Paulina.
No, negative.
Hold on.
She
Jacob,
was more famous than him.
Get pictures of both of them.
They look alike.
Get pictures of
Rick
both of them.
Ocasek passed away.
Okay, and God rest his soul.
I was a big Cars. That first Cars album, I think, released in 1977.
All right,
one of the great debut albums.
I did have a very last thing I wanted to ask you about.
Okay. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. I got to pee 10 minutes ago. Got to pee now, but I can wait.
Okay. So how do the markets react to an aggressive push on getting yields lower? So it starts with this. He tries to influence rate cuts because he said in his Truth Social post, he said because of the tariffs.
I saw
if the tariffs come in a big way and they stay, and then he is pushing to cut interest rates, I couldn't think of a worse cocktail to reinflate inflation.
I agree. The markets will not like that.
Okay.
The markets will rage against that.
And now they also hate him trying to force Powell out?
They should.
Okay.
That
should. Was my last thing.
No, they should. But, we don't think things are not what they used to be. But the market theoretically should not like that.
So the point that when I said this, I think it was probably in December, and Mel looked at me like and I love Mel, and she and I get on super, super well. I think she has a lot of trust in the kind of rails of government and the checks and balances. And my only point was, based on, Trump 1.0 and based on, Project 2025 and based on what they have been saying from the campaign into now, there's nothing that leads me to believe that he will not stop at trying to do that. Okay, that's it.
No, listen.
And I think that could be a massive headwind for the market.
Where's Amanda?
She's in Puerto Rico.
Probably
that tiny island.
Is that a song lyric?
From West Side Story. Puerto Rico, that tiny island.
I don't remember that scene.
How do you not remember that?
I think I saw West Side Story when it came out originally.
Probably. And the original run was black and white.
Radio City. Huh?
SNL.
Radio City.
SNL has this absolutely amazing skit. It's probably 30 years ago. Bill, do you know this one? They do this little thing to West Side Story, and it's actually an amazing. They had Norm Macdonald, R.I.P.
Didn't he pass away?
He did. That's a great one. We'll put that in the show notes. That is like a lot
Jacob
of fun.
Want to put
West Side Story.
All
right, let's get out of here because you got to go pee, and I did my last thing. You know what I mean?
Number of times.
It was a lot of fun. Okay, so in the podcast store, Risk Reversal Podcast, we had Jeff Richards of Notable Capital. Tomorrow, we're going to have David Rosenberg of Rosenberg Research. Also, Danny Moses had an amazing pod with Luke Roman, Forest from the Trees, talking about a lot of stuff on a big picture standpoint about policy and the interrelation with markets and the like here. So go check that out. If you're not following it, it's the On the Tape podcast feed.
Congratulations to Elizabeth Young Thomas.
Amazing. We're so happy for her.
When we get the green light to show a picture of said baby, we will, but we have not been.
It's not our position.
It's not our position to do that. Yeah. Not that she wouldn't want us
Griffin River Thomas.
GRT.
I love that name. I love that name.
Griffin, like Gryffindor. Do you watch those movies?
No. Jeez.
Those movies suck.
That's the Harry Potter stuff.
I've talked about this before.
Yeah.
No, they really suck.
I know.
I mean, they're the three. I say it all. The same three effing kids with their friggin' wands.
They became
attacked. That double dork guy,
Hermione.
I mean, it's the same effing movie.
Hermione.
They just get older.
Danny McBride, and this is the end.
But why? I
love those motion pictures.
Why
I have so many questions?
Why did Hermione like the ginger?
Because he was like the hot. He was like the hot wizard. Not good looking hot. He was like the guy. He was like the guy
the
to
friend.
be.
But then he got pissed off.
Oh, she went for the ginger.
He got pissed off at Harry Potter because he thought
Well, I thought you
Hermione
never
was
watched
messing
these.
around
I
with
thought
Harry.
you've never seen
I've been
these.
forced to sit through them.
I've never seen a minute of them. I just know.
And then he got pissed, and then he left, but then he came back, and then he pretended he was
Ronald is the
then
ginger.
he had
Is
to
that-
put himself
that's great.
like at risk on a chessboard.
Oh, really?
Like in order for them to win, he had to sacrifice himself. He was like on a rook or something.
Yeah. She
The
almost
whole
got
thing, they all
canceled, the
suck.
woman who writes
But
it.
the guy that died in the one with what's
from
his
Die
name?
Hard?
From Die Hard.
Yeah.
He was in that movie,
Great
too.
character actor. And you loved him in Robin Hood too. Remember he was the baddie in
Really?
Yeah, he was the sheriff in Nottingham.
Yeah, he
Great.
passed away.
What
too.
was his name in the
I'm sure somebody will. Bill probably knows.
Hans Gruber.
Hans
Gruber.
Great movie. That's a Christmas movie, by the way.
Some people, it's a big debate.
Think people have left by now? Are we just talking to a
Just talking to
empty
us.
screen? All right, we'll be back. Not tomorrow, because tomorrow's Friday. The Risk Reversal podcast does drop tomorrow with the aforementioned Rosie. We'll be back on Monday.
Yeah, we will.
To do Market Call, 11 a.m. So buckle up, people.
All right, thanks.
Enjoy the tournament.
Oh,
By the way, before we get out of here,
yeah,
the top 4 teams
yeah,
are head and shoulders above everybody else. So this is a tournament. Bookmark this shit. You're gonna have 3 1s and a 2
wow,
in the final 4.
Who's
They're
the
just
two?
too good.
Who's
I
the
don't know
two?
yet. I think Houston might be the team that falls off the grid.
Interesting.
Like what I did there?
Yeah, I got you. All right. So the number ones are Auburn, Duke, Houston, as you just said,
Florida.
Florida. Yeah.
Florida's loaded.
Yeah. They got that big guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if Cooper Flag plays, Duke is tough out.
Do you think UConn goes on a run?
No. Not a good team.
So by the way, Mark Mahaney, who we had on the
Mahaney's,
Risk
his son
Reversal pod,
plays.
son plays for UConn. He used to play for St. Mary's.
Yeah.
You like the St. Mary's
Transfer.
squad? Do you think
Well,
the
it's
St.
Jesuit
Mary's?
school.
You think they have an upset in
I
this
think
thing?
I think they can win games because they're an older team. You know, these teams that kids play together 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah.
There's a lot to be said for that, as opposed to these teams, for example, like a St. John's, where you get a lot of ones and dones, or Rutgers, by the way, as I think I mentioned yesterday. Bills, Rutgers. There's going to be in the top 3 picks in the NBA draft.
Yeah.
Cooper Flag's going to go 1.
Yeah.
Number 2 is going to be Harper's kid. Number 3 is going to be this kid, Ace Bailey.
Yeah.
Both freshmen from Rutgers. And they won shit.
How did they do that? They must have had like
they're
some big,
freshmen.
They must have had some
Well,
big
well, Harper was hurt a lot of the year.
No,
and
how
blah,
did they
blah,
get
blah.
those prospects?
I don't know. You tell me.
Yeah.
Money talks. And
Well, I know,
bullshit
but now it's
walks,
not
man.
illegal anymore. It's just the NIL.
I know.
Yeah.
The guy that founded Vitamin Water. You know this man?
I don't
That's
know.
the St. John's guy.
Oh, really?
Sure.
It'd be fun to kind of
Mike
So if Rick
Rapoli.
Pitino were to win,
Sure.
so he would have won in 3 spots.
I believe that's true.
Louisville,
He's
Kentucky, and then it would be here at St. John's.
Louisville and Kentucky. Did he win in Louisville? I
Yeah.
don't know. I got enough
He was in
build-up.
when he was at Providence, he went to
Billy
the Final
Donovan's-
Four in
Billy
1987, by the
Donovan on
way.
that team.
And you know, Syracuse was in that Final Four. They
Hughes.
played in the semis, and there was a brawl. Remember when the Big East had that reputation,
I
and
mean,
they had a brawl pregame? It
I
was
thought it's the best.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't think it got out of hand, but it was like a little fight.
I'm all about that.
Trust me, we know. All right, let's get out of here. Thanks, everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll see you all in the podcast network, and we'll see you
Later.
Monday. Bye-bye.